Today, I want to support you with a very tender moment in a parent's life. When your kid says something like, I hate my life, I want to disappear, I just don't want to be here anymore. Or when you notice they've been hurting their body, maybe cutting on their arm, and suddenly everything inside you is on fire. And it feels like there are these internal fire alarms going off all over the place inside. And you don't know what to say or what to do or how serious this really is. Hello, my friends. I'm really glad you're here. This is Self-Led Parenting Live, a space where we explore what it looks like to parent our children and our own internal systems with curiosity, compassion, and connection. Yes, even when our kids are in a mental health crisis, especially then. My name is Jacqueline Long. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I've been working with children and teens who are self-harming or wanting to end their lives since 2003. So today, that's over 23 years ago as we record this video. And I love working with these kids and families. I find them fascinating. These are really incredible kids I work with. And before we begin, I just want to say that if thoughts of self-harm is something your family is going through, this is hard. You don't have to know exactly what to do. You don't have to find the perfect words. All parts of you are welcome here, including the really scared ones, including the ones inside that are totally freaked out. And just for a moment, if this topic is already activating something inside of you, see if you can take a slow breath with me. No need to change anything, just noticing that you're here and I'm here with you. And maybe beginning to acknowledge there's some fear or overwhelm inside. It helps to acknowledge what's there, but if it's too much for any reason, just take a break. And as always, I'm here to answer your real life parenting questions. So if anything comes up for you during this conversation, you can just write your questions for me in the chat. I'm planning to stay on this topic for a few weeks, so please let me know any questions that come up for you so I can try to address them next week. So let's begin with today's question. Because our team specializes in supporting children and teens in emotional distress in the San Francisco Bay Area, parents often come to us saying something like this. My teen has started saying she doesn't want to be here anymore, or my son has been having thoughts about hurting himself, and I recently found out he's been cutting his forearm. Can you help him? What am I supposed to do? First, I want to say this very clearly. If your child or teen is expressing thoughts about hurting themselves, or you're noticing that they've been hurting their body, this is something to take very seriously. And this is not something you have to handle alone. There is support available, and reaching out for professional help is an important and loving step. And not only support for your kid, but also, and perhaps even more importantly, support for you. You are your child's primary support. So we want to make sure that you are well supported through this also. And I also want to gently name something that can help organize this situation for you. There's a very important difference between having thoughts about not wanting to be here and having a clear plan and intent to act on those thoughts. If there's a plan or clear intent to end their life, that's when we move toward immediate support, like contacting a crisis line, such as calling 988 or calling your child's therapist or even going to the ER. But many children and teens experience something else that we call suicidal ideation, having thoughts about wanting relief from how bad they feel without actually planning to end their life. And that distinction matters because it helps us respond with greater attunement and care and clarity. Attunement matters. Attunement matters a lot in these particular situations. The more attunement and clear understanding a kid senses from us, the more it will help them and their nervous system settle. But for a moment, let's talk about you. Because when a parent hears something like this from their child, it can feel absolutely terrifying. You might feel a whole lot of things all at once: panic, urgency, fear, confusion, a desperate need to fix it right now. You might even feel numb. And all of that makes so much sense. Because the parts of you that love your child the most are the ones that are going to get activated the fastest. It can feel like an entire army rises up inside of you all at once. Kind of like from the Inside Out movies, us parents have a whole army of mama bears and papa bears inside. I'm going to bring up my friends from the Inside Out movies, like we have the worried part that says, alarm, oh no, alarm, their life is in danger, and sends cortisol throughout our system. And other parts line up, getting ready to put the fire out inside, saying, make this stop right now. And you might suddenly feel rage, enraged even at your kid, like you shouldn't just go around saying things like that or doing things like that unless you really mean it, right? Mama bear and papa bear parts might say, we got to keep this kid safe. We got to do something that fixes it. Analytical parts that might feel kind of calm might say, we need to figure this out immediately. And how do I make sure this never happens again? We might have judging parts, kind of self-critical parts that say, this is all your fault. What did you do wrong? Blaming us inside. And that might activate some sad parts that feel sad and ashamed. And they might say, she's so sad, just like I am. She must have gotten it from me. It is all my fault. Feeling ashamed and holding the burden of shame. And then some interesting kinds of numbing parts might come out, even disguised as happiness. That say, don't worry, be happy. It's just too much. Let's just get a drink of wine and chill out for a little while, right? So all of these parts come in fast and they come in strong and they come in all at once. Why? Because they care so deeply about you and your child. These parts come up within us with good intentions. They're trying to help in the very best way they know how. And at the same time, when those parts take us over, it can be really hard to stay present. It becomes difficult to stay connected to our kids. Our kids can feel it when worry's leading the way, right? When we're parts-led, we might rush into fix or try to talk our child out of the feelings or minimize their experience totally without meaning to, or become totally overwhelmed ourselves. And we'll either freak out or numb out. And in those moments, our child can actually feel even more isolated and alone. They might fantasize even more about disappearing if they don't feel met emotionally. So here's the shift at the heart of self-led parenting. Your child does not need you to fix this moment. They need you to stay connected to yourself and your own inner life so you can truly be an emotional anchor, an emotional lifeline for your kid. They need you to be with yourself and the ones inside of you so you can truly be with them in a way that's helpful. When emotions get pushed away, whether in us or in our children, they don't disappear, they intensify. Because these parts aren't trying to cause a problem, they're trying so hard to be seen, heard, and understood. Patty Whiffler, one of my mentors from Hand in Hand Parenting, says, when you shift the question from how do I stop this to how can I support my child through this, You move from managing to connecting. I love that. And staying connected to your kid as they move through a moment of emotional overwhelm, of mental health crisis, makes all the difference. Staying connected to your kid, to your teen, as they move through a mental health crisis will make all the difference in the world. And one of the best ways to stay connected is to listen. As Tamala Floyd says, it helps to listen when parts speak. When a part of your child is activated, it will activate parts of your own inner system, right? So the real question becomes, how do I be a compassionate witness so I can listen and truly support my teen through this, especially when a part of me is terrified? How do I listen and truly support my teen through this when a part of me is terrified, right? This is the real question. And this is where the U-turn from internal family systems, or IFS for short, comes in. Before we move toward our child, we gently turn inward. We do the U-turn. We turn toward ourselves and our own inner life. That's a powerful shift. We all know that in the event of an emergency, it's important to put on your own oxygen mask first. The U-turn is how we put on our own oxygen mask first. And we can ask ourselves, what's happening inside of me right now? Because all of our energy is going to want to go out there, right? What about this? What about that? Really, really, really fast. A lot of energy out there. So we just do a U-turn. Wait a minute. What's happening inside of me right now? Can I notice the fear? Can I notice the urgency, the pace and timing of my voice? The part of me that wants to make this go away, the part of me that wants to minimize this and not make it a big deal at all, the part of me that wants to make this stop, even the part of me that wants to walk away and have that glass of wine. It's about including our activated parts, tending to them, checking in with them, and asking them if they can give us a little bit of space and maybe move into a witnessing role. Where do you want to be? Back beside me, back behind me, under my arm, in my arms, sitting on my lap? Where would you like to be so I can be here for you, with you, and with our child out there in a deeper way, from a deeper place inside of me? We're not trying to get rid of these parts in the U-turn, and the same is true for your kid. We're not trying to get rid of these parts of them. The self-harming parts, the parts that fantasize about not being here, they're actually trying to protect your child the very best way they know how. And your child's parts will activate parts in you, parts of you that are trying to protect you the very best way they know how. But we can begin to gently help the activated ones inside of you soften just enough so that something steadier inside of you can come forward to be with your kid. In IFS, we call that steadier something the self, with a capital S. Self is like the sun. It's always there in all of us. It shines its healing energy on everyone equally. The sun doesn't make choices. The founder of IFS, Richard Schwartz, says that self is the undamaged, healing presence within us all. So it's always there. It's a healing force within us, and it's inside all of us. But sometimes, just like the sun, it gets clouded over. The self energy has certain qualities such as compassionate curiosity and calm confidence and clarity and courage, and it's inherently connecting and healing. This self energy allows us to be a compassionate listener to our kids, a compassionate witness when they're in distress. And this is what helps a child or a teen in a mental health crisis the most. The good news is that we all have this self within us. There's nothing we need to put on. We don't need to try to be compassionate. We already have compassion within us. We don't need to try to be calm. We already have a deep well of calm within us. But we will have parts of us that come up, like clouds covering the sun, that want to fix or solve or numb out. And that's normal, that's natural. These parts of us will arise within us, to protect our kids, especially when our kids say they want to end their life. So if you can do a U-turn and turn towards your activated parts and be with them, be with these ones that need your attention, they will allow some space. That will allow some self-energy to emerge within you, because self-energy emerges as we relate to the ones inside. Self-energy emerges as you relate to your own internal system in a compassionate way. As you engage in this self-leadership and you say to the ones inside, I know it's hard, but I'm right here. You don't have to do this alone. That will help you. It will help you stay present. It will help you listen. It will help you be with your child's pain without needing to turn away from it. Because self-energy is a non-fixing, non-abandoning presence that is always there within you. So that's the good news. And when you can access even just a little bit of that presence, something really important begins to happen. Your child starts to feel, maybe I'm not alone in this. And that sense of connection is where true healing begins for these kids. Because when your kid fantasizes about hurting themselves or ending their life, they'll be feeling pretty alone in that experience. Even parts of them inside will feel very ashamed and disoriented and confused and uncomfortable with that. And so their inner world will actually begin to disintegrate. They'll have parts inside of them that are at war with each other inside. And they do need help with that, but a specific kind of help. What they need is emotional connection. Empathic resonance is what helps. Okay, so let's say you're able to do the U-turn and you can notice what's happening inside of you, and you're able to create even a little bit of space, and some of these parts move into a little bit of a witnessing role so that you can be with the ones within you that need your attention. You still might find yourself wondering, okay, so what do I actually say right now? And I want to normalize this. A lot of parents worry about saying the wrong thing. And they worry, what if I make it worse? What if what I say isn't enough? What if I say too much, right? And that makes so much sense. But here's what matters. It's less about saying the perfect thing and more about how you're being with yourself and how you're being with your child. That's all connected in there. So when your child is in that level of emotional pain, there are 3 simple ways you can support them in the moment. After being with yourself and putting on your own oxygen mask first, because it's where it comes from that matters most, you can let them know you hear them. You can encourage them to keep sharing, and you can find ways to stay connected with yourself so you can stay connected with your kid. That's it. We don't have to complicate this. It's where it comes from within you that matters most. So let's review this and break it down a little bit, because you might still be wondering, okay, Jacqueline, but what do I actually say? So you can say empathic statements. You can say things like, I hear you. I get that. That makes sense. I understand. And I want you to just put in the chat something you're noticing about all of those statements. I hear you. I get that. That makes sense. I understand. What I want you to consider, if you haven't already, I'm not going to check the chat, is that all of those statements are 3 words or less. Very minimal verbiage. And I want to slow this down for a moment. You're not saying these things because you agree with what they're saying. You're saying these things because you're letting them know you're not alone in this. I get this. I'm right here with you emotionally. And that in and of itself is healing. Emotional understanding and empathic resonance is healing, especially for kids in this depth of emotional pain. Emotional connection is what is most healing when someone's in this depth of emotional pain. This is what kids and teens tell us at Mindful Child and Family Therapy again and again in different ways. What they crave the most is understanding, connection, some relief from the isolation. So you can also encourage your teen to keep sharing. You could gently invite them to keep going, saying things like, "Keep going, sweetie. Say more. I'm listening." Again, what do you notice in common about those statements? 3 words or less. And I know, this can feel so counterintuitive to us as parents, right? To encourage them to keep talking about wanting to hurt themselves. But this is really key. Parts of us that want this to stop will try to get our kid to look on the bright side and see all the good things in their life and start a gratitude practice right now, maybe yesterday. But that "don't worry, be happy" part is the opposite of helpful. She comes with good intentions, but not helpful in this situation. These protective parts of us often engender the very thing they're trying so hard to help us avoid. By trying to get our kid to be happy, we might unintentionally deepen their sense of emotional isolation because they will feel deeply, deeply unseen by a "don't worry, be happy" kind of part, right? When one woman in a workshop we offered recently said, you know, "Yeah, sometimes I just want my partner to understand me." Another woman said, "Yeah, if my partner doesn't get it, I have to keep saying it again and again in different ways until she gets it. I just want to be heard." Our kids feel that way too, right? They'll keep trying to show us again and again in different ways until we get it on an emotional level. So one of my favorite ways to say this comes from Patty Whiffler. She says, "I'll hold you in your goodness while you tell me all about how badly you feel. I'll hold you in your goodness while you tell me how awful you feel." Because even when your child feels worthless or hopeless, you can hold on to something steady for them until they can feel their own goodness again. And we do call this being a hope merchant in IFS. We offer hope, but in a way that also includes and welcomes and embraces their hopeless part. Make sense? We don't enter into a power struggle with their hopelessness. We include it. I mean, just take a moment with me and imagine feeling really hopeless and defeated and awful about yourself and hearing someone say, "Don't worry, be happy." Now imagine feeling really hopeless and defeated and awful about yourself and hearing, "I'm going to hold you. I'm going to hold you in your goodness while you tell me all about how badly you feel." Feel the difference? Just notice for a moment how that lands with you. So you can also say things that speak to your connection. You can say things like, I'm right here with you. I'm going to stay with you through this. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to go through this alone. And when we say things like this, our kids will often test us and will try to push us away. But if it comes from a calm, confident, and connected place, you might find the courage to stay, even when they're pushing you away. But remember, it's where it comes from within you that matters most. And I want to say something here that can take some pressure off. You don't have to fix your child's feelings in that moment. I just want to underline that. You don't have to make the thoughts disappear. What you're doing is helping your child not feel alone with the feelings. And that is incredibly helpful. That's healing. So the conversation might sound something like this. Your teen says, I just don't want to be here anymore. And instead of rushing in with questions or solutions, you might take a breath and connect inwardly and say, I hear you. That sounds really heavy. And they'll talk a little more, and you might say, do you want to say a little more about what's been hard? And then they share a little more, and you can say, wow, I see you. I can see how much pain you've been carrying. And they talk a little more, and you can say, yeah, that makes sense. And then if your teen starts putting themselves down and telling you how awful they feel about themselves, you can say this, keep going, sweetie. I'm going to hold you in your goodness while you tell me all about how badly you feel. And when they keep going, you can say, I'm right here with you. Powerful. That's what's helpful. And there are a few things that are very understandable, but can sometimes make it harder for your child to open up. Things like trying to immediately talk them out of how they feel, saying things like, it's not that bad, jumping straight to solutions, or even asking a whole bunch of questions very quickly, even getting upset at them for talking that way. Again, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because those responses tend to come from activated parts of you. And when you speak from your activated parts, it can sometimes make your child feel like their feelings are too much for you, like their feelings are too much to share with you again. And it can give your kid the impression that you're not able to understand them, even though you have parts that are trying so hard to understand. I like to say, instead of trying harder, try softer. So just to highlight this once again, what helps the most when your child is thinking about hurting themselves is helping them feel seen and heard and understood. Interpersonal neurobiologist Dan Siegel calls this feeling felt. Our kids want to feel felt by us anytime, all the time, but especially when they're going through a mental health crisis. And as we talk about being a compassionate witness, I want to be very clear about something. You, dear parents, you, my dear friends, you do not have to hold this all alone. You deserve support from a therapist, a spiritual advisor, a friend, or a listening partner. It truly does take a village. Because when a child or teen is feeling this much emotional pain, having the right support around them, and thus around you, really matters. So that might include a therapist for you, a therapist for your child, a family therapist, a school counselor, a pediatrician, or another trusted adult in your child's life. Not because something's wrong with you or your child, but because they deserve really good support for what they're going through. And so do you. Reaching out for help for yourself and for your child is not overreacting. It's not failing as a parent. It's a loving, responsible response to your child's pain. And I want to be clear. If your child is expressing thoughts about hurting themselves, it's important to take that seriously and to make sure that both you and they have support in place. And remember, even with support for them in place, your presence still matters deeply because you help create the relational field that your child experiences every day. So please get support for yourself in addition to getting support for your child. It's hard to work with all of these different parts of us that come up inside. Getting support helps. So, before we end today, I want to slow us down just a little because we've been talking about something that can feel really big. And one of the ways we can stay connected to what matters most is by remembering what it feels like on the inside of adolescence. Because when we're scared as a parent, it's easy to move away from our child's experience. And this letter is an invitation to gently move back toward it. So, as part of a tradition here on Self-Led Parenting Live, I'd like to share a short letter written from the perspective of a teen. This one comes from a place where part of them is in deep pain, and another part, you'll find, is still reaching out for connection. It's called When a Part of Me Wants to Disappear. Dear Mom and Dad, sometimes there's a part of me that feels so overwhelmed, so heavy, that it starts to think it might be easier not to be here at all. I don't always understand it, and I don't always want it. But when it shows up, it feels really, really big. There's another part of me too, a quieter one, that actually really wants you to see me. Not fix me, not worry about me, not panic, not try to make it all go away. Just see me. You worry about me. I know it's born of love, but it doesn't help me. I don't know what to do with your worry. It feels heavy. It feels heavy when I'm already carrying heavy things. When I say things like, I don't want to be here, I'm not actually trying to leave. I'm trying to tell you how much pain I'm carrying that I don't know what to do with. And when you get scared, I can feel it. Your voice changes, your body tightens, your questions come at me really fast. I feel interrogated. It's like you want me to be different than I am. And then something inside of me starts to shut down because now it feels like my pain is too much for you. But when you slow down, even just a little, when you stay close and your voice feels steady, when your heart feels open to me, something inside of me shifts. The part of me that feels like disappearing doesn't feel quite as alone. And the part of me that wants to be seen, it gets a little bit stronger. The part of me that wants to be connected. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to make my big, dark feelings go away. When you stay with me, when you listen, when you remind me I'm not alone, it helps more than you know, even if I don't say it in the moment. There are parts of me that are hurting, and there are these resilient parts of me that are still here, still hoping, still wanting connection. And when you can see both of those parts of me, it helps me believe that maybe I don't have to disappear to feel better again. So please see me, all of me, especially when I want to disappear, especially when I can't see all parts of myself. Thanks for loving me and for believing in me and for holding hope for me, especially when I'm lost in the dark. Because that's when I need the light of your love, not the heaviness of your worry, the most. Love, your teen. So let's just take a moment together to let that land. And as we close today, I want to remind you of something important. You don't have to do this perfectly. If this conversation stirred something inside of you, it's not a problem, it's information. Activation isn't a problem, it's an invitation to pause, to notice what's happening inside of you, and to gently turn toward the part of you that's in need of your own compassionate attention in the moment. That's the U-turn. And when you bring even a little more warmth and curiosity to your own inner world, it begins to change the relational field between you and your child. And those small shifts over time can make a profound difference for your child, for you, and for generations to come. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing some of the most important work in the world. And I'll see you next Tuesday at 12.